We had a topic planned, but we're going to scrap that. SportsZone, I'm your trusty Steve Ben Florence. We got a great panel to my left. First up, Deepak Bhagat. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Silas Hill, how you doing, buddy?
Lee for Temple tomorrow. Very excited for AU
there
basketball.
There you go. How about that? And Dylan Schote, as always, how you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad at all.
All right. We're going to start off as usual. Well, actually, not as usual of late, because we've been talking World Series, but going to talk some NFL to start off the show. We're going to talk about two NFC teams that are leading the divisions, and they'll actually play this Sunday. First up, Arizona Cardinals, best record in the NFL, which I know everybody saw coming. But they're going to be without their quarterback. They're 8-1, but they're going to be without quarterback Carson Palmer. He tore his ACL, out for the season. Deepak, Drew Stanton's going to be the guy now. The Cardinals did win a game with him earlier in the year. Coach Bruce Arians has confidence in him. But how far can this team go with Drew Stanton leading the way instead of Carson Palmer?
I mean, like you said, that Carson Palmer didn't start the year off. You know, it was always Drew Stanton who started that off. And then Palmer went on this huge run where the Cardinals were seemingly unbeatable. However, you know, he is a backup, and while there have been backups that are in the league right now who have proven to be good starters after replacing their former guys, I don't see the Cardinals really having too much success. They're 8-1 right now. You know, they still have 7 more games left. I see them maybe getting 3 wins out of those 7.
Really?
Yeah.
So, but they'll still get to what, 11-5?
11-5, yeah.
All right, Silas. You know the Cardinals. They've been doing it. They haven't really needed a huge passing game. Not even that much for a run game, but they've had a defense. They're making a ton of plays. They've got a ton of playmakers, especially in the secondary. But how can they withstand going from Carson Palmer to Drew Stanton now going forward?
Well, I think if you watch the game, so I'm going to disagree with Deepak here. I think the Cardinals are going to continue to perform. I mean, maybe they'll dip a little bit because of Carson Palmer, but you have to remember Drew Stanton is still an NFL quarterback. He's still being paid money to play professional football.
Right.
Like, this guy isn't a scrub by no means. I mean, he's better than Tim Tebow, like his ESPN won't make you believe.
There's that.
But, I mean, you have to look at the supporting cast he has around him. He has a great running back core. He has one of the best, he has a Hall of Fame wide receiver and a couple other good ones to back him up.
That's right.
And then he has a defense that's really supporting him. And he has one of probably the coach of the year, kind of drawing up all the plays. So I really see the Cardinals. They're probably going to win the NFC. So, yeah.
They're going to win the NFC or just the division?
I could see him winning the NFC.
Really?
Yeah.
Dylan, do you agree that this Cardinals team with Drew Stanton, definitely an NFL quarterback, and he's played well when he's given the opportunity, and he has some familiarity with Bruce Arians, but how deep, I'll ask you this, what's the ceiling now of this Cardinals team with Stanton as opposed to when they had Palmer?
I think I'd have to side more with Deepak on this one. I think over these next couple of games, they probably win at max 3 games. Yes, they had a good success early on in the year, but I think a lot of that was on Carson Palmer. He's an experienced quarterback. He takes that pressure away from the run game. And that was even when Larry Fitzgerald wasn't performing at his best. And even now, Fitzgerald still isn't doing his best that he can do. But Andre Allenton was hurt to start the year. He's had a couple bumps and bruises along the way. And I don't think throwing Drew Stanton in as a starting quarterback now bodes well for the Cardinals. Their defense is going to continue to carry them. Their defense is going to continue to keep them in the games, whether it's interceptions, fumbles, and a lot of points that they've scored themselves. But I just don't think that a backup quarterback, no matter who it is, can really carry a team like the Cardinals. I mean, if you want to make the argument that he's a quarterback in the NFL, E.J. Manuels was a quarterback in the NFL.
Great
Geno Smith was a quarterback
But
in
so
the
is Tom Brady.
Tom Brady is also a cornerback in the NFL, but he's probably
And
going to
so
win
was
MVP.
Tim Tebow.
But no,
So was
backups,
Tim
though, as
Tebow.
far as backups go.
Pretty
No.
clean.
So as far as backups, there's
Drew
always
Stanton
things.
could be Tom Brady.
He could be Tom Brady, but he could also be Ryan Mallett. He could be Brian Hoyer. Like, there's so many different things that could happen.
Yeah.
I think just based off of who he is, I don't see the Cardinals continuing as well. I would agree that they'll probably make the playoffs. Like you said, they'll finish probably 11-5, but once they get the playoffs is when they're going to reach their ceiling.
All right, before we get into more, as much as I'm loving this backup quarterback discussion, but now we're going to turn to a team that the Cardinals will be playing on Sunday, a game conveniently going to about 15% of the country because of the other game on the Fox slot at 4:25. Before we dive into a little broadcasting weedy action there, the Detroit Lions, Silas, they're in first place in a division with the Green Bay Packers, especially after the Packers just demolished the Chicago Bears. The Lions had a comeback win against the Lions. They got a touchdown late from Matthew Stafford to Theo Riddick. How good is this Detroit Lions team? They've had a great defense. Now they have Calvin Johnson back, and they've already beaten the Packers at home this year. How good is Detroit?
I think if people are going to try to jump the bandwagon of the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're going to look. They have 4 wins in a row. That's great for this team. But if you actually start to look at who they've actually beaten, it's really not that impressive. As you said, they kind of have a bunch of last minute kind of lucky wins, and then you look at the debacle at the what happened in London with the Falcons. I mean, they don't really have that. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers signature win, but that was at home. But if you look at their next 4 games, I mean, you're going to New England. You're going to Arizona.
Yep.
I mean, you have to play Cleveland at home. I mean, you have to play Green Bay away. Like, these are some very, very tough tests for this team. And if we look at their past, they don't really have the best history with those tough games.
That's right. And but Dylan, what do you think?
No, they don't have that history there, but I think based off of the team that they have around them, and I think you touched upon it perfectly, Ben, they have Calvin Johnson coming back. He hasn't been there for most of the season, and when he was used as a decoy early on in the year, and they pretty much said that after the game, that he was just kind of there to draw attention away from some of their other receivers. Riddick stepped up great, but they're also going to probably be getting Reggie Bush back. Their defense has been playing solid. Yes, they have a lot of tough games coming up, but I think that the team that they have now, especially being a lot stronger, with Johnson and Bush kind of coming back from their injuries, I think they can kind of continue rolling with this and probably continue to lead the division.
Detroit Lions, D-Pack, how good are they?
I mean, they are a solid team. You hit it on the nail when they got Calvin Johnson back. But that's the thing, too. He is the main weapon. He's arguably still considered the number 1 wide receiver in all of the league. What they were able to do without him, though, is still impressive. And also recently in the past game, Matt Stafford, who, I like to say that while he may not be consistent in throwing touchdowns, he gets those yards. He'll get the team down the field as much as he can. Mm-hmm. He recently broke Dan Marino's record too for most passing yards in the first 70 career starts. So I think they're for real.
Gentlemen, so good NFC talk as always. We got some more SportsZone coming your way, so keep it locked. Little bounce pass action.
That's a chest pass.
No, it's okay. Okay, it was a pass. This is Throwing It Up, our NBA segment. I am Ben Florence, the host, because of all people, I need more FaceTime on this show.
Absolutely.
But we got Silas Hill's back with us. You'll see him on the main panel. And we got a return. Hashtag the return.
I'll lose to the Knicks tonight. Mike Gardner.
Chris Eldad? Chris Eldad?
Oh, God. All right. Jared Berman's with us. We're going to talk some NBA.
Again.
We had a topic planned, but we're going to scrap that for something that we all in this country love. The hot take. Going to want you guys' NBA hot takes. Jaron Berman, as a returner, you're going to lead us off. Got any NBA Association hot takes for us?
Well, I believe our main panel will disagree on this. I do think that this whole Kobe Bryant missed shots, overblown.
Really?
Overblown. You know who's on that list? Jordan. I think Bird's on that list. I think you have all these legends on the list. You know why? They're the ones that take the last shots, and you're the ones you want to hold the ball.
Kobe's a shooting guard.
So was Jordan.
I was agreeing with you. He's a shooting guard.
Wow.
All right, exactly.
He's not a passing guard.
Exactly. He's not the point guard. He's a shooting guard. Who do you want to take the last shot right now? Jordan Hill or Kobe Bryant? I'll answer that for you. Jordan Hill.
Robert
right now.
Sacre.
But even better.
Rob Sacre.
Even better. But historically, you want to go with Kobe Bryant. So this whole missed shots thing, overblown, ridiculous. Move on with it.
Silas Hill, hot take.
Okay. Oklahoma City Thunder.
Ooh, this is hot.
I mean, you have a guy named Robinson who played for Duke, barely got minutes at Duke, who's currently your starting 4.
Wow.
You had the chance.
Do they have Shavlik Randolph?
Yes, they do. You literally had to sign Ish Smith out of nowhere. You had to sign Ish Smith as a backup point guard to Reggie Jackson. You're having a great year. I understand, but come on, Ish Smith should be nowhere near the basketball in the fourth quarter.
Sorry.
So
my bad.
Here's what I'm trying to say. You had the chance. You knew the cap was going to increase with James Harden. You look at all the ridiculous contracts being handed out right now. All you had to do was sign James Harden, amnesty Kendrick Perkins, pick up a Steven Adams, literally anyone who is over 7 feet tall and can hold a basketball, and there's your center.
Very tough.
Because
Sonic's curse is real.
Because you could have had literally
Robert Swift?
3 of the best players in the NBA. But no, you messed it up, Steve Pressey.
Okay.
You messed it up. And now you're going to lose Kevin Durant to Washington, D.C.
And,
It's going to happen.
and you
It's
could
going to
lose
happen.
Russell Westbrook now.
To Los Angeles Lakers, where Kevin Love could also go.
What?
They were teammates at UCLA.
What? They
Hold
play in
the
the same
phone.
city as the Lakers?
The
Oh.
cat money works.
Unbelievable. Sharon, you got another hot take for us?
I got another hot take in me.
That's all you are.
Well, I am a bunch of hot takes, yes. I'm also a lot of
Really?
hot air. Yeah.
Hot pants.
Hot pat. Too many cooks.
Nice pants.
Too many, exactly. Another hot take. Sacramento Kings will make the playoffs.
Whoa!
I like them.
I feel like Bill Simmons of last year's NBA draft. Whoa!
Whoa!
Boogie!
I think they're great. I mean, honestly, look. I think Isaiah Thomas. That's a big loss. Look what he's doing in Phoenix. He's been great for Phoenix, but they have good. They have great players. Boogie, of course, Boogie.
Love
He's a
Boogie.
machine. He is a machine. I think he's the.
Wonderland.
I mean, you could talk about Dwight Howard. Fine. I think Boogie's the best center in the NBA right
Oh,
now.
what?
I think he's the best center. He's
That's a hot
He's
take.
also the better person to actually follow if you look at his actual character. He's not a clown like a
Hey.
Mr. Howard.
I love clowns.
But not that type of clown.
The children
Shaq,
love him.
That's what the
The
children.
children
That's what
love
Shaq and a fool.
Shaq and a fool.
That's what Shaq and a. This is SportsZone, and
Yeah.
we respect players. And I think
Well-
DeMarcus, to an extent, but I think DeMarcus Cousins best center. I think they have. I can never. pronounce his
DeMarcus
name.
Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins. I apologize, Cousins. We have. I can never say his last name. Micklemore.
Macklemore.
Macklemore?
Is it actually Macklemore? I didn't.
Yeah, Ben McLemore.
Well,
Not Macklemore.
Well, I know. Well,
Mark
I
Macklemore.
thought that was like too easy to mess
Bob
up. So
Saget.
I think exactly.
Pride of Kansas.
So I think Macklemore. Macklemore has talent. They drafted him very early last year.
Yes.
I think he'll bounce back. They have a great shooter now in.
Stauskas.
South, thank you. I got him.
Stauskas?
Yeah,
Stauskas?
Stauskas.
Stauskas?
I got lost in
Silas
that joke.
Hill. Hot take. What do you got?
Okay, so you got Kevin Durant injured.
Oh, this is hot.
Everyone doesn't really like LeBron. CP3's trailing off.
Oh.
Who's your MVP?
Joe Johnson.
Survey says Anthony Davis.
Yes.
Ooh.
He's young.
Go for it.
He's the new Tim Duncan. He's
foil.
doing okay. They're my official league pass team. I've watched every Pelicans game so far this season.
The Pellies.
Come on, Pelicans.
The Pellies.
Anyway, Anthony Davis, he's a pick and roll machine. He's got this weird little floater as a guy who has a 7'3" wingspan. He's
Yeah.
shooting floaters. You can't stop that. No one in the NBA
Literally.
can stop Anthony Davis rolling to the basket. And you look at all the teams that they would probably face. Again, they probably won't make the playoffs, which is probably why he won't MVP. But I don't care. This is a hot take. I do what I want.
That's right.
Yeah, you tell him.
So Anthony
spoil the
Davis,
broth.
you should have already purchased your gambling bets for him to win the MVP. I'm sorry you
Yes.
didn't because I fortunately did. A lot of Jumanjis are on it. So,
What about Jumanji?
ooh, Jumanjis.
Ooh, Throwback Thursday.
I see
Yeah,
you
we guys
cutting this out.
got. They haven't flashed the lights. You got any more hot takes? Anything?
I like that actual hot take. I'll second the motion on that
Oh,
hot
really?
take. I do like Anthony Davis. He might actually average at the end of the year. Actually, I'll add on to that hot take. Anthony Davis will average a double in. Actually, not. Oh, how do I put this?
He'll get a 5-5-5.
He'll get a 5-5. That's better.
He'll
I'm
go
trying to
5
figure
by
it out. He'll get a
5.
5 by
He'll go
5
5 by 5.
Easily, at the minimum 5-5-5.
Go ahead and write it in the cash.
That one I like better than what I was going to say. So
Word.
add on to that hot take. So we got double the hot takes, double the fun,
Word.
and all the broth that's not spoiled from too many cooks.
Too many cooks.
Too many
This
hot
has
takes.
been throwing it up, guys. Some excellent hot takes. Let's do this more often. This is SportsZone. Keep it locked.
Hello and welcome to Ice Time. I'm your interim host, Deepak Bhagat, and along with me is Andrew Wainwright and my trusty phone serving as my guide because Andrew's really the guru here. So, Andrew, about 2-3 weeks ago, we discussed the standings as they were, and we had teams like you had Tampa Bay still up there. Chicago was leading the Central. You had Washington, I believe, in first in the Met. And then in Pacific, it was Anaheim. And so, right now as it stands, and I'll read them off in order, Tampa Bay in the Atlantic, Pittsburgh in the Met. You got Nashville in the Central and Vancouver in the Pacific. So based off of those 4 teams in first alone, do you see any surprises, any things that you really didn't see, these teams capable of?
The big standout for me is going to be Vancouver. I mean, the Sedins are aging, and I think they lost a big guy in Ryan Kessler. But they also changed up their management, so they lost their owner, and they've got a new general manager, Jim Benning, as well as a new coach, Willie Desjardins. And I don't think he's given enough credit because he's really turned around the team. They also traded for Adam Verbata, a Czech guy from Arizona, and he's been putting up points with the Sedins. So with that, I mean, like with the top line revitalized, I mean, they're about a point per game now, each of them. I think Vancouver's going to be on a good tear for a while, and they're also getting a lot of secondary scoring too. So even if the Sedins don't score, they got guys like Chris Higgins, and their defense corps is still pretty good.
Yeah. And I mean, we say that's a surprise because when we were discussing these standings just 3 weeks ago, Vancouver was what, fifth or sixth in their division?
Yeah, they've made a big rise.
I mean, understandably, it's still fairly early in the season. Teams fluctuate. Like there's no tomorrow, really.
Right.
And so going off these teams that are leading the divisions, the Pittsburgh Penguins, obviously, they have Sidney Crosby, someone who has been, I hate to say it, a stellar player. Really, he's sometimes considered the face of the National Hockey League. Mm-hmm. He's currently leading the league in points, followed closely by our Flyers' own Jacob Voracek, and third is Dallas's Tyler Seguin. Mm-hmm. Dallas being in 6th place in their division. Based off of, I know Crosby's not so much a surprise, but Voracek and Seguin. Do you find these guys surprises? Is Voracek, I hate to put it this way, if the Flyers were to collapse, is Voracek a trade bait? Trade chip for them?
I wouldn't say it's never off the table. I mean, Wayne Gretzky was traded. Exactly. Anything's possible in hockey, but I don't think the Flyers. I don't think they're close to collapsing at all. I think the most likely scenario is that Jay Voracek wanes off. I mean, I don't think he can keep this pace up for the rest of the season. But I do think, I think he's like, 25? I do think he's definitely on an upward trend. There's no doubt about that. I mean, he's only going to get better from here until he's 32 or so.
Yeah, I mean, he's legitimately one of the top younger talents in all the league. Just, his speed, his ability to just think on the fly and be very strategic.
I think the thing that he's a great pairing for Claude Giroux in the sense that Giroux's, he's not a big guy. He only weighs like 170 pounds, and Giroux's got the playmaking ability.
He's like a Bobby Clark.
Giroux's got, or Voracek's got the speed, and he's got the shot, he's got the size and the speed to score goals. Yeah. And you saw that last year. He scored, I think, 25 goals or so. And Giroux was set up just about every one of them. But this year, it's almost the other way around. Giroux's or Voracek's setting up the guys.
Yeah, and especially on a team that really has been plagued by injuries in the beginning of the year. You had Coburn, who was out for 20 days or so. Yeah. Now you have Luke Shen, who's on the shelf for about a week or two. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's it. Just the Flyers seem to be in that funk where it happens actually quite a bit for us. And I say us because we are Flyers fans, where the team hits a bunch of bumps in the road, starting off, but eventually we keep, we keep on going.
No, they do.
What we got. You have Shane Ghost. How do you pronounce his name? The Ghost. I'll call him the Ghost. He's also on the shelf right now for a little bit. Going from teams that maybe are trying to climb back up to the top. Last year we had the finals being the Los Angeles Kings and the New York Rangers. We don't really like the Rangers. The Rangers aren't doing too well anyway this year. But the Kings are in 4th place right now, Andrew, in their division. What do you make of this team? A team that has already won 2 cups in the past 4 years. A team that, albeit when they got those players from various trades, the players like Jeff Carter, like Mike Richards, like at the time Simone Gagne, guys who weren't necessarily the youngest. I believe we had Richards was pushing 28, 29 at that time. Is this a time to see them as a red flag kind of team?
As far as
downward
trend?
Yeah, are they on a downward trail?
Personally, I would say no, just because their top producing line was Jeff Carter's center, Tanner Pearson, and Tyler Toffoli, and both Tanner Pearson and Tyler Toffoli are low 20s. They're like 22 and 23. And Jeff Carter, I think he's going to be an elite goal scorer until he's at least at 35, just because he's got that playmaking ability and he's got the size and the athleticism. That's been the top producing unit also in the league too, as far as just a second line goes. Not only that, but they were missing Anze Kopitar for almost till last week. So that already is a huge sign. I mean, Anze Kopitar really is like the main force of their lineup. There's just no way around it.
Yeah. And I'd actually like to really quickly just touch upon, we're about, 20 or so games into the season. 15 games into the season. At this point, and this is just completely out there, what would you say if you had to go by lines and even goaltenders on each team?
Yeah.
Who would you say has really been your biggest surprise or would be your number one?
Number one as far as top line goes?
Yeah.
Top line, because I'm a St. Louis fan, I'd say the top line would go to Yuri Leitra and Jaden Schwartz and Vladimir Tarasenko. They've been absolutely outstanding. There's no way around it.
And top tender?
Oh, geez. This is a tough one. I'd say Roberto Luongo of Florida.
Okay, you heard it right there. That's all we have for Ice Time. This is SportsZone. Stay tuned.
Oh, welcome back to SportsZone. We got some more football talk coming right at you. We're going to talk a little college football, a topic we haven't talked that much about on SportsZone, but we're talking about it now. As people know, it's the first season of the college football playoff. And gentlemen, we may have a little controversy brewing already surrounding two teams in the Big 12. TCU is ranked 4, and they're primed to get to the playoff if it were today, while Baylor is in 7th. Both teams with one loss, but Baylor beat TCU. And if both teams won out, Baylor would be the Big 12 champion, and yet they may not even make it over a team they beat. Silas, tell me what's wrong with this picture.
Okay, so here's what's wrong. So when we got this whole fancy playoff thing, we were like, yes, finally, we can decide our champion. But now, I don't really like the week-by-week rankings. It's going to get a little too... I feel like it's just kind of made for ESPN TV so they can have a 30-minute TV show and just kind of go on whatever they want. So I don't really agree with these rankings right now, but I feel like at the end of the day, Baylor will be put at that 4 spot because that 4 spot's going to come down to TCU and Baylor because Baylor's kind of got the easier schedule going in. And if TCU's claim to fame is that they beat Minnesota, like, it's the Big Ten. Like, come on now.
Exactly. What the guy at the head of the college football playoff, Dylan, said that, well, we look at head-to-head, but we want to wait for that if both team profiles were equal. But that leads to the point where, as you said, now the one non-conference win that TCU can hold his hat on is Minnesota. Minnesota's been good this year. They just crushed Iowa. But it's also, as Silas said correctly, they are Minnesota. So what's your take?
Yes, they are Minnesota. But this Minnesota team is still ranked 25th right now.
Yeah.
And when you look at it head-to-head, it's one of those things that strength of schedule comes in, points scored, points against, everything like that. And at this moment, Baylor has 1 win in the top 25, and TCU has 2.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. That's another thing that they're saying that came down to it, that looking at everything, yes, Baylor beat TCU, but it was by 3 points. Wasn't it by 3 points or something like that? It was a close game, I think.
61-58.
It was the 61-58 when Baylor was down 37-58 with 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So it was TCU completely falling apart to lose to this team. They have 2 wins in the top 25. Right now, where they are, like you and Silas both said, this far out, I don't have an issue with this top 4 ranking. I think where it is right now, this is good. And if things come up, if Baylor starts scoring a lot more, then they can look at it again.
But what's interesting with Minnesota, Minnesota's barely ranked. And also, only a couple weeks ago, they lost to an awful Illinois team, which was very incomprehensible. Then you can look at, similar matchups in the Big 12. TCU barely beat Oklahoma by 3. Baylor just crushed them by 34. But DPAC, people could also make the case, and I think maybe everyone will agree, TCU is a better team than Baylor. Which I guess the idea is that they get the 4 best teams, but also it's kind of hard to pick a team that didn't win their conference and lost to a team that did win their conference and have a relatively similar profile. What do you think?
No, yeah, and I totally agree with you here. It all depends on where this is going to end up. Will Baylor win the division? It's still a will it happen scenario. So that is yet to be seen. but TCU has overall been a very strong team. You know, Dylan mentioned they did let up the game against Baylor where they just completely fell apart and decided to just call it a day. But when you look at that strength of schedule, when you look at the points they put up, I too have no problem with this. You know, I see TCU as a legitimate number 4 contender. You know, it's been a while since I guess we could really say that TCU has been a force in all of college football. And so, you know, it's good for them. And I'm still very much in the if it happens, you know, party.
Of course, and as Silas mentioned, you know, these rankings are ridiculous because it doesn't mean anything until the final ranking. But now that this is the first time we talked since the inaugural rankings came out a few weeks ago, Dylan, what do you think at this juncture, looking at for the final rankings, the Final Four, what do you think is going to be the 4 teams in that Final Four?
The 4 teams in the Final Four, not the current, just
not now.
December 1st, December 5th, whenever the final ones come out. I do think it's going to stay very similar to this because I think a lot of the teams that are in that top 4 are very solid teams. I'm going to have to put Mississippi State number 1 still. They're undefeated, 9-0, running away with this. I know earlier in the year we talked about whether they were the team to beat or whether that was FSU. I think number 2 stays Oregon. Close win this past week on the fumble at the end zone, everything like that. Number 3, I'm going to put FSU. And then number 4, I'm going to say Alabama. Roll Tide's going to sneak up there. Maybe TCU falters. Maybe Alabama gets a good, exciting win. But I think that's going to be my top 4.
Silas, what do you got?
All right, so I'm going to give you a few little scenarios.
Please do.
So one spot's going to go to an SEC school. So that's going to be either Mississippi State or Alabama. Shocker, I know. Much to ESPN's apparent dismay. Because if whoever wins that game against this weekend, they'll probably go on to beat Georgia. And if Georgia wins, Georgia takes that spot. And then it gets weird. If Georgia wins the SEC championship, it's going to get very awkward during those committee meetings.
That's right.
And then second spot's is probably going to be Oregon, but it could be Arizona State. Arizona State and Oregon will play in the Pac-12 championship game.
Provided they both win out.
Yeah, provided but they both have very easy schedule because, again, it's the Pac-12 bottom teams.
Well,
yeah.
No, but Arizona State will get Arizona.
Yeah.
I believe in Tucson.
So you've got those. Then you have Florida State, who, I mean, it's as long as they can get past Miami, who right now they're not even favored to beat Miami right now.
Yeah,
which is a real shocker.
Well, Miami's played very well of late.
Yeah, in an empty stadium.
That's true.
Yeah, 1991.
We get more people in
1991 was a long time ago. And then I think the 4th one's probably going to be Baylor.
Interesting.
Gotcha. Deepak, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I definitely just straight up put Mississippi State up there at number 1. You know, they are undefeated. They are the number 1 team right now, and they will stay that way. Oregon Ducks. I mean, Oregon has still continued to be a really solid team. You know, post Chip Kelly, they still kept with all the other teams there. I would actually put Bama at number 3.
Really?
Yeah, despite having what I feel is a rough season, definitely a rough season compared to recent history, they will creep up there. They will solidify themselves in that number 3 spot. And I will put Baylor up there at number 4 because, you know, while I did say previously that I'm in the if party, you know, Baylor will win that out.
So if you have, but wait, and I know the lights are blinking, but really quickly, you have Mississippi State number 1, so you have them winning out.
Yeah.
But you have a 2-loss Alabama team jumping a 1-loss Baylor team?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You heard it here first.
Because they will.
College football playoffs, everybody.
College football playoff.
Where the best team wins.
We're counting down the days. This is SportsZone.
This is
Tide.
If they had their way, they let Notre Dame.
Welcome back to SportsZone. This is Getting to Third Base, your favorite segment, as is mine. We got our usual folks next to us. Deepak, Dan, you know, us, the 3 Ds, taking on the baseball.
Oh my God.
So that's what we got. We got to add one more. I don't know who else we got. So
Quadruple D.
we'll find someone. But this is what we got this week. What we're going to start out with is we're going to talk about the first signing of the year. It's been not hot stove season yet. General managers meetings are starting up. People are kind of starting to reject or accept qualifying offers. Trades are being talked around. Different rumors are being thrown around. But the big signing so far of the year has been Michael Kadire signing a 2-year deal with the New York Mets. As we all know, he actually rejected his qualifying offer, which a lot of people predicted that he would accept it and that he would be one of the first people to actually accept the qualifying offer, which is a 1-year, $14 million deal?
15.3.
15.3? I thought it was 14.1.
Money.
So we're off. And that's a 1-year deal, so he would have been able to stay with Colorado. He ends up opting out of that signing with the Mets for a 2-year, was it 22?
Yeah,
Or 22, 23?
21.
$21 million deal. See,
I don't do math.
I'm around there. But this also means the
Ballpark.
Mets
In the
are
ballpark.
giving up their 11th or 16th.
15.
15. See, let's just defer this to a Mets fan sitting down there. Let's start out with Dan. Dan, Michael Kadire deal, good deal, bad deal?
I think this is a good deal for multiple reasons. First of all, you got a proven veteran hitter who will provide big protection in the batting order for Lucas Duda, who broke out majorly this year with his 30 home run season. He's proven he can be clutch. He's got a 338 batting average in the playoffs in his career in like 22 games, which is great. He won a batting title in 2013, so he shows he can still get it done. Hit 20 home runs also in 2013. So number-wise, I think it's a good deal, but also it's a huge deal in terms of the mentality of the Mets as a team. This signing to me tells me that rebuilding is over, because this is a 35-year-old outfielder that the Mets just signed to a 2-year deal, which tells me they are taking 2015 seriously. So finally, we might get a year where they crack 80 wins. Wouldn't that be nice? 500. Oh, that'd be beautiful. So I think those two reasons, this is a big, big signing for the Mets.
Okay, big signing from the Mets fan. Maybe he's biased, maybe he's not. Deepak, how do you see the signing?
I too see the signing is actually a good one for the Mets. I can't really hate on the Mets too much because they have been a floundering wreck for the past few years.
Yeah.
So often the Phillies.
I know, but like consider 2007, them collapsing, us winning the division. Sorry, buddy.
Thank you for that memory.
I
I
still
appreciate
like you more than Jaron. But I think it's a good deal because Dan touched upon a whole lot of things about Kadire. He's consistent. He has power. He knows how to hit for average. He's protecting guys in the lineup like Duda and even Daniel Murphy, who are lefties. Murphy is a solid hitter, gets your hits for you. Duda drives them in, big power. So having Kadire there, veteran, good presence, good guy in the clubhouse. He came in second 2 years ago in the home run derby during when it was held at Citi Field. I think this one actually goes a long way for the Mets. $21 million, well spent.
Okay. I'm going to see this kind of a little bit of the opposite side. I don't think that this is the best signing for the Mets for a couple different reasons. One, the deal itself is actually pretty good. 2 years, $21 million. That's about 10.5 a year. Obviously, baseball contracts don't always work out that way where it's evenly split. For a veteran like him at 35 years old, that's a really good deal, money-wise. That being said, I think he's on the wrong side of 30. He's 35, turning 36. He played in Colorado the past couple of years, which for a lot of players is kind of a rebirth of their own kind of careers. When he was leaving the Twins, he was kind of on the downslope. He was an outfielder who kind of got some time at DH, and they really weren't sure where he was going to fit with Colorado. People expected him to be an outfielder, but they kind of expected him to kind of start but be a bench player for most of his time. He ends up coming out hitting over 300, coming in second in the home run derby. But I think a lot of that is the fact because he was in Colorado. Everyone knows that those tend to inflate your stats quite a bit. So I think that's one of the reasons. He also this past season was injured. And by injured, I mean was injured consistently. I think he only ended up playing 39 or 49 games.
49 games, yeah.
So out of a 162 game season, he's only played 49 games last year. Not because of one injury. He had hamstring, he had an illness, I think he hurt his arm or shoulder in there as well. So multiple different injuries hit him at the age of 35. Even the season before that, when he won the batting title and came in second, I think he still only played 120 games. Again, due to injuries. He's just going to get older. He's moving to Citi Field. I mean, nothing against Citi Field, but it's moving away from Colorado. He's going to be a starter. He's going to bring a veteran presence to the clubhouse. He's going to have that talent, and he's going to be able to be that maturity, which I think is great. I just don't think he's going to be the player that he was with Colorado the past couple of years. You guys can feel free to disagree with me if you think so, but I think based off of what it is, I would have loved to have seen them sign more of a like Johnny. This signing seems like it's going to end up more like Johnny Gomes when he signed with the Red Sox, signed a 2-year, $10 million deal. Johnny Gomes when he was with Oakland at that time was batting about 280, 15 home runs, like struck out a lot because that's Johnny Gomes. I see Kadire in the Mets more of that sort of player. He'll push 300. I think his power is going to decrease, and I think he's going to get injured way too much to kind of justify $10 million a year. My thoughts?
I'll take
Whether you guys
280 and
agree with
15
that.
home runs.
And I mean, that's the thing. Like, do you take it and think that's okay? which it probably could be, but it's one of those things that a player that you're probably signing to be a veteran and to be that starter at $10 million a year, is it worth it? I don't know. It could be that spark plug for the Mets. Maybe that pushes Curtis and Granderson to play even better, anything like that. But they're flashing the lights in the back, which means
they were joking.
We got a little bit of time left, so we're going to touch quickly upon the Cy Young Awards. Corey Kluber and Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw, number one favorite. Everyone knew that was happening. Agree, disagree?
Oh, 100%.
Kershaw?
110%.
You seemed unsure at that point. But Corey Kluber was kind of a shock going against Chris Sale and
King Felix.
Deepak, Corey Kluber coming out of nowhere or well-deserved?
Yeah, this was really just an out-of-nowhere kind of season. Kluber, I believe, was top 3 in wins. Tied for the league in wins.
Yeah.
I think second in strikeouts and third in ERA. Just an unbelievable season altogether. I can't really emphasize how integral he was to the Indians franchise. Despite the fact that they didn't do as well as they hoped, they didn't repeat as AL Central champs. It was still a well-deserved surprise and a gift, really, for Cleveland.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. And, I mean, clearly he had a great enough season to win the Cy Young.
Yeah.
But, Dan, is this a Cy Young award that came out of nowhere and kind of was given to him? Or was he really that much better than Felix and Sale?
I think it came out of nowhere only because nobody pays attention to the Cleveland Indians. And I know for me, I would, if you read a box score, you listen to any baseball show of any kind, every fifth day you would be like, oh, Corey Kluber struck out 14 today. Corey Kluber, went 7 shutout. It was, if you followed it enough, you know that he 100% deserved to win. And it's great that the writers didn't just cave to be like, oh, it's Felix. We're gonna give it to Felix because he's Felix. So that's really great, and I really do believe Corey Kluber deserved this Cy Young.
No, I mean, I would definitely agree with that. Like we said, Kershaw, 100%. That was the number one favorite. Led in ERA, again, up there in strikeouts. But Corey Kluber in the AL, I think, was definitely a surprise candidate, surprise season for him, especially the Indians not doing as well as they were hoping, coming off of the great season that they had great for Cleveland last year. But he definitely, I would say, it's hard to say outplayed Felix or Chris Sale, but if you look at it stat-wise comparatively, you said it perfectly, Dan. The fact that if you looked in the box score, you'd see every other week he was getting anywhere between probably 10 and 15 strikeouts a game. And he was going 7, 8 innings at a time. I think this is a great award given by the writers. I think it's perfect, and I think they got this one on point. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to talk about MVP, and MVPs are released tomorrow, the Thursday. So next week, look forward to the MVP talk. We know that's a little bit up in the air. We're kind of not certain on who's going to win it. I know there was some dissension between the three of us about who was going to win AL versus NL. Well, AL we all know.
AL, it's Mike Trout.
You're right, Mike Trout. NL, we'll figure that out, and we'll talk about that next week on Getting to Third Base. Keep watching SportsZone. Hello and welcome back to SportsZone. This is another one of those panels where we try to find whoever can talk about this sport. This is our NFL panel. Ben didn't like the name last week, so we're kind of still talking with the commissioner on what we can change it to. Knowing the NFL, that'll take a while, and we probably won't hear until 2 seasons later. So this is just the NFL segment. We got Jaron, Dan, Vince joining us today. A very varied panel this week. We're talking about anything about the NFL. Biggest news this past, maybe not the biggest news, but one of the bigger news this past week was Mark Sanchez coming back after retirement, the Jets, whatever you want to call it. The Jets was pretty much retirement for him. Coming back and leading the Eagles to a big win. Obviously, they had a really good defense that stepped up for them. Darren Sproles returning a punt and running it in from a couple yards out, which is what Darren Sproles does. But Mark Sanchez still threw for over 300 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Jaron, what do you think of Mark Sanchez coming and leading this Eagles team? Is this just Sanchez's skill showing?
Well, it's not a surprise because let's face it, if you're on the Jets and you leave the Jets, you turn out to be a better player. And that's not an understatement. That's actually a fact. If you are a Jets fan, you say your life is hell. No, that's not a joke. It actually is.
It's very true.
Because here's a week in the life of a Jets fan. You were I'm just leaving this to Jets. I'm going to go back to the Mark Sanchez aspect. You were 1-8. The season is over. All right, so why don't we just go? Why don't you just think the rest of the 7 games? Get like number 1. Get a great quarterback. But no, that'd be too easy. Let's go out and win a game now, and let's ruin our chances of getting that high pick, so we can be mediocre enough to get a really mediocre quarterback rather than a good quarterback. But I digress. This added more to the week. Mark Sanchez, back from the dead, back from the abyss where he came from. 2 touchdowns, links up with Jordan Matthews. Now they're inseparable based on last week and this week. And knowing the life of a Jets fan, I will guarantee you today, hot take over, Eagles will be your NFC East victors. Because life as a Jets fan is just too miserable for everyone.
So, bold prediction from that horrible life as a Jets fan person sitting next to me. As another Jets fan sitting next to him, wearing some green as well, we got Dan.
No.
Now, Mark Sanchez, like we said, had a really big game this past week. Are you surprised by this output?
Yes and no. It's a weird. In the right system, he can do very well. I know John Gruden said it, and I don't know how valid that is, but John Gruden said that anyone could do well in a Chip Kelly offense.
Well, you'd have a blender. That has to be. You did have a blender in the booth, so.
That's true. But I mean, you got 2 really good running backs in LaShawn McCoy and Darren Sproles who are going to take some heat on him, and he does. I guess apparently he does pretty well in a high-speed offense. In the right system, he can do well. I mean, 1 game is a small sample size, but I thought he played really, really well, and it sucks for me because I'm a Jets fan, and it's painful to watch for me.
Okay, and Vince, do you see Mark Sanchez being able to continue this success? Like Dan said, he's got 2 running backs to kind of insulate him. They've had a good defense, but can he keep up the success that he had this past game?
I don't see that at all. The Eagles have 9 return touchdowns, whether it be defensive interceptions, fumble, kick returns. He got 2 this week, 1 from Darren Sproles, 1 from defense with the interception. That's not going to happen every week. They're not going to get 5 turnovers every week. They're not going to play against an NFC South team like the Carolina Panthers every week. There are tougher days ahead for Mark Sanchez, and he's shown his true colors when he faces the real pressure. I'm not a Mark Sanchez believer at all.
No, I mean, he definitely had a good week this week. He's got a good offense around him. He definitely has some talent there, so we'll see how it works out. But no, I think the general consensus is we'll see how it goes. We don't think it's going to kind of sustain the success that they had this past week. But going from the Eagles, we're going to move on to the AFC North. Currently, the AFC North, every single team is over 500. Past years, that would be a pretty big surprise. But some of the teams in there that we see, we're used to seeing. We have the Ravens, we have the Steelers, then we got the Browns, and there's one other team I'm missing.
The Bengals.
The Bengals. Like I said, past couple of years, you would expect the Steelers, Ravens to be up there. But this year you got the Browns and you got the Bengals up in the top as well. Now, let's start out with Vince this time. Vince, how do you see this AFC North kind of panning out with all these teams above 500?
Well, I think, first of all, the records in the AFC North are a little bit inflated because of the schedule. They're playing the 2 weakest teams in football. They're playing the NFC South, which we just kind of touched on, and the AFC East, which outside the Colts is very weak. So that's feasibly 7 games on the schedule that you can go in and you can win. But as far as who's going to win the division, the Bengals and the Steelers have to play each other twice down the stretch. I really feel like that it's going to come down between those 2 teams, and those 2 meetings late in the season are really going to decide who takes the division.
Okay. And now, Dan, we have the Browns currently sitting atop the division?
Yes.
Is that correct?
In first place by themselves.
Yeah. So we got Chris L. Dobbs, Cleveland Browns. If only he was here, we knew they'd still be doing bad. But Chris L. Dobbs, Cleveland Browns, sitting up at the top of the division. Dan, do you see the Cleveland Browns being able to sustain this? I mean, they're in one of the better divisions in football based off of the records. Obviously, Vince kind of explained it, that. It's not really the records, it's kind of who they're playing. But can they keep this up?
I have to say no as much as I want them to. I'm always a fan of a good underdog story, but they lost to Jacksonville. I mean, they lost to Jacksonville. There's nothing else that really needs to be said other than that. Yeah, they beat Pittsburgh, but they lost to the Jaguars. It's much too up and down, and I actually agree with Vince. I think it's going to be Bengals and Steelers fighting it out in the end.
Bengals, Steelers fighting out at the end. So you both agree with that. Jaron, let's kind of stay on that last point right there. They say Bengals, Steelers. How do you see this kind of panning out quickly? I know they're flashing the lights.
Well, I think it's going to be a Christmas in Cleveland to remember. Cavaliers are back, and the Browns are back. But in regards to that, I think the Bengals are a little bit younger, a little bit more fresher than the Steelers. If it comes down to that instance, I think that again they have the age factor for the Steelers. So if it's gonna come down to that angle, then I think the Bengals have the upper hand.
All right. But are you solid or kind of going with the Browns?
Oh, I'm solid going with the Browns. I thought we were talking from that angle. Cleveland,
No.
Christmas in Cleveland.
So Cleveland, number one.
It's a Christmas to remember.
Johnny Football bringing some magic to Cleveland with LeBron James.
Lucky
I can
Manziel.
see
Johnny Bench.
Lucky LeBron.
Johnny Bench.
Lucky LeBron.
So this has been it for the football segment. Hopefully you guys are following what we're talking about. We jump around quite a bit, but keep watching SportsZone. You got some more following.
Ow!
And we welcome you back to SportsZone. A little dramatic pause in there for our favorite segment, thumbs up, thumbs down. Whether they're fingers or not, they're still great. And basically what's good and what's not good, what's bad, what sucks, whatever you got. Dylan Choate, what do you got?
We're going to start thumbs down this week. Thumbs down is going to go to Mike Friel. Now, shots fired. Many of you probably know who he is. He used to sit in this general area with us.
I'm not wrong.
He took up most of the space too.
Yeah, but so he's in London,
France.
France.
Paris.
He's in France
Freeland.
for the semester,
Paris.
but yet he's still using his fantasy football team. My fantasy football team played him this past week. I scored 105 points.
Yeah,
which
you
was
did.
Good for second most out of everyone in our league. This was definitely a down week for a lot of teams. And I thought I was going into this. I thought it was going to be great, looking pretty good. He was down like 40, 50 points. And then all of a sudden, the Cardinals defense went and scored 27. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And then Aaron Rodgers goes and scores 6 touchdowns.
Yeah!
Should have had 8.
I enjoyed it.
And he beat me 106 to 105. Not too bad, right? You then consider that he had 3 guys in his roster who were on a bye week.
That's pretty good.
So he beat me with 3 guys that were missing. All because the Cardinals decided to score 27, and Aaron Rodgers scored like 36 with 6 touchdowns. I don't even know what he did. So thumbs down to Mike Friel. Like, I don't know how many thumbs down I can give to you, but all the way over to Paris. Yeah, let's go another one in there.
That's 4.
We got
that's
all
5.
of them.
That's 6.
All of them in there.
They're not
All the
even
thumbs
fingers.
down.
They're just thumbs.
Okay, so there's that. Thumbs up
There
this
is that.
week. Going to stay in the football realm. It's going to go to Brian Hoyer
The legend.
and Ryan Mallett.
The legend.
Now, 2 former backup quarterbacks for Tom Brady. See, get Tom Brady in there again. Are playing this week. They're calling it the Tom Brady Backup Bowl. Both of them are now starting quarterbacks for the Cleveland Browns and Houston Texans, respectively, and having decent seasons in Hoyer's case, and hopefully a decent season in Mallett's case. So we'll see how that happens. But good luck to both of them. It's great to see former Patriots kind of getting out there and being good, as long as you don't go to the Jets or some team like that. Thumbs up this week also goes to Chael Sonnen. A lot of you are probably missing our infamous Shin to Chin episodes that we used to have. Chael Sonnen, as we all remember, was one of the greatest, the American gangster, the one of the greatest to ever live MMA fighters. He recently lost his job at Fox due to some issues with performance-enhancing drugs, and he came out clean saying, yeah, I did this. I had to do a bunch of things to kind of get ready for my fight. So he kind of apologized for it. He was recently signed by ESPN to be their MMA commentator, which a big signing for this, like ESPN. They've had a couple other people in the past, but to have a figure like Chael Sonnen anchoring that segment, especially if they continue to bring him back. I know they're looking at bringing him back for UFC 181 with Mark Hunt fighting this upcoming weekend. But Chael Sonnen, probably one of the most electric fighters to ever fight, and one of the just greatest all-around personalities in the world of sports. If you don't know who he is, check it out. Great signing by ESPN there. So thumbs up to Chael, and hopefully everything goes well with that.
All right, Silas, you got 2 thumbs, right? Might as well use
This
them.
guy.
It's your turn.
This guy. He's got 2 thumbs. All right, so we're going to start with a thumbs up to Waffle House.
Ooh.
And here's why we're giving the thumbs up to Waffle House.
Boy, tell him.
Because Waffle House has a promo this weekend on the result of the Auburn-Georgia game. And whichever team wins, that town will be given free waffles. Yeah. So these are very high stakes or high waffles, whatever you will. So I have family. I have a lot of family in Athens, Georgia, rooting for the Bulldogs this weekend because you know what? My cousins, they need wooden waffles. So another thumbs up. Another thumbs up is gonna go to Kobe. Another thumbs up is gonna go to Kobe Bryant because you last night, Kobe, you became the all-time leader in missed field goal attempts in the NBA.
We did it! We did it!
Kobe, this is a real accomplishment for you because it really just shows the Mamba style that you live life by. You know, Kobe, I kind of agree with you that you miss 100% of shots that your teammates take. And what Kobe's done with this is shown that not only do you just not need to care about teammates the last half of your career, you can still win championships with it under a terrible roster and under an awesome contract because you know what? Who cares about the hard salary cap? You know what? The Lakers have money. They have that Time Warner Cable deal. Let's do it.
Don't forget that Charles Barkley is eating now as well.
Well,
right, thank God.
They won the same night that he said it, so like, I mean, you know.
It's okay. He was probably starving for a
Okay,
while.
so thumbs down to the new Watergate in Washington, but not that one. The Watergate in Washington State, where the Seattle Seahawks are watering down their alcohol in their stadiums. What do you do with Seattle Seahawks? You want your stadium to be louder. You want fans drunk. Like, that's how you get through NFL games of the 4-hour slog that they are in the middle of Seattle. I mean,
sober.
I already didn't know you could water down Bud Light even more, but apparently you can. So, yeah, I mean, thumbs down to the Seattle Seahawks.
I'll drink
Shots fired.
That's a good thumbs down.
Yeah, I know.
Is that it for you?
That's it. I mean,
All right,
you
you know
can't
what?
top
Right, Deepak.
water down
I'm
Bud
going to
Light.
start off with a thumbs up. Yesterday, Veterans Day, November 11th, was the Concert for Valor held on the National Mall. Free concert with performances by Bruce Springsteen, Carrie Underwood, Zach Brown Band, Black Keys,
2 Chainz.
Dave Grohl,
Metallica.
Eminem, Rihanna, Metallica. Who else?
Juicy J.
Jennifer Hudson,
Juicy
Jessie J.
And Joe Biden.
Excellent concert. Huge turnout.
MC
Close to
Biden.
1 million people there. Really, just the whole event. Showcasing how important it is and how thankful we are for our veterans and all members of our military. So thank you all. If any of you are watching this. Another thumbs up goes to what happened last week coming out of the Lakers with Steve Nash with his open letter to the fans, apologizing to them for basically his conditions, where he's always in pain. He's pretty much sat out for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And he apologizes to them, and he's saying, I'm sorry, I put in like 100% throughout my career here, like not with the Lakers, but with Phoenix. I can't help it if this is the toll that it takes on you. And people were critical of him, but a lot of people have forgiven him. Another thumbs up goes to the Philadelphia Eagles for destroying Silas Hill's Carolina Panthers.
Silas Hill.
Sorry.
It's a basketball state. What can I say?
Truth.
And
Go Hornets!
Yeah. While the Eagles did let up 21 points to the Panthers, I would actually say this was probably their best defensive performance, even better than the one against the Giants. Thumbs down, though, for me not starting the Eagles defense and losing to Ben in fantasy football.
Yes.
And a definite thumbs down to Jaron Berman for coming back and now trying to distract us.
All
Ben,
right.
you're on the spot.
All right, got to move quickly because the blink lights. Thumbs up to the great Jaron Berman because I had to counter that. Thumbs up to, you know what? I'm actually going to give a thumbs up to Michael K. The K Show sucks, and he's basically Mike Francesa's bitch. I give him credit. His rant was the first time people have ever talked about his show at any length.
He's not number one.
He's not number one
not
as
number
the
I haven't seen my rearview mirror.
Our cameraman is talking.
Another thumbs up. There's a new giant behind Cactus Cantina.
Yes.
And, fantastic. And it's really close,
BFG?
too. But it's totally really nice. Shopping center. All of that because they continue to flash the lights thumbs down to that. Thumbs down to all you clowns too.
Up
but
or down?
another thumbs down to Deepak. Thank you for watching Sports Zone. For everybody, all the hooligans up here, all the heroes in the back. You guys are all great. This is Sports Zone. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Clanger.
Gardner.